Okay, folks, welcome back. Was that a good break? Are you feeling breakful? Yes? Is this easy to do, as long as you go one step at a time? So I'd like to go back a little bit to see if we can refine it a little bit, because really, once we can establish this as a kind of a given general set of parameters, at that point, most of the work is done. Let's choose a nice garish color. Here. That's where you earn your stripes. That's what people pay you the big bucks for, right? It's not for any of the other stuff. The other stuff is to allow you to do this better. So you want to spend really as little time as possible in those other stages, because this is what you want to do most of your work in. That's what they paid you for, right? So we have our hypnotic themes. You've played with two of those themes so far, haven't you? Relaxation and calmness, right? And you had your power words, which were over here. And it was actually pretty, you notice how it's very easy to just flow when you have some power words and some themes that you can drift around with, yeah? So what were the 5 power words again, very quickly? Not rocket science, is it? Right? And of course, there are many more. We can talk about where to get some more later. But what were the 5 again? If you have those in your memory like that, where you don't really have to think about it too much, then you have the basis of hypnotic flow. You can talk and keep going and flowing without running out of words. And that's one of the things that you really want to be doing. Does that make sense? So what I'd like you to do now is we'll give you 2 minutes apiece, so 4 minutes in total. Find a partner. And you see how we have all these trance themes? And you have your 5 power words. If you want to throw in other power words that are similar in nature, by all means do so. I want you to just ask them to very casually just close their eyes, maybe go into a trance. If you should want to do some boilerplates along the way, then knock yourself out. Don't spend too much time on it, though. Because the bulk of those 2 minutes, what I'd like you to do is to focus their attention on these themes here. And I have no idea what you're going to say or how you're going to say it and in what order and what ideas will emerge as a result. And nor will you. What this does is it frees your unconscious mind to find the right way of presenting the core idea. Does that make sense to you guys? I want to have a good 2 minutes of rifting just around these ideas with the power words. It's real simple to do, isn't it? Any questions? Find a partner. Feel free to spread out into the entire room if you wish to. 2 minutes apiece, 4 minutes in total, off you go. How are we doing, folks?
Awesome. Excellent.
Having a good time?
Yes.
How do you enjoy doing this?
Yeah.
Who surprised themselves that I can just flow pretty much forever? You can't really run out, can you? Right? Did you enjoy that? Let's have some microphones here, please, quickly. Yep, there's a hand over here.
I actually I found that the easiest thing was just to use all this throughout the entire induction, as opposed to centering it right in the trance work.
Beautiful. Now you're starting to bleed the edges of the process. That's what happens with conversation hypnosis. It's all conversation hypnosis. Every step is the same step. It's just strategically you're achieving different things with it. Beautiful.
Especially because like it helped almost as filler when I was like,
anyone else notice this?
Because then you can feel calm about.
Right? And you know what? Please, this is no joking matter, although it is pretty funny. What is a better suggestion to present to someone? Or, because you can relax, you can feel comfortable. And comfort takes you deeper into that focus state. Now, when you feel yourself focusing just a little bit more, you'll start to learn about relaxation in a new way. Which do you think you'd rather be talked to if you were just paying someone $150 for their professional services, which you think inspires a bit more confidence in you, right? It's absolutely right. There are times when I do hypnosis, when I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just, but then this fills it up. And here's the irony. Do you know something that's really crazy that starts happening? When you start doing this, initially just as filler, just to buy yourself some time, you say something which is so good, you shock yourself. Seriously. The client you almost want the client to jump out of trance and thank you because that was worth every penny they spent.
Sometimes they do.
And sometimes they do, it's true. Seriously, it is true. So really what you're learning to do you want to know a little secret here? What you're doing is you're keeping your conscious mind busy whilst the rest of you does the work. Because you can't do this stuff consciously. You can improve it consciously, yes. You can go home, you can think about it, you can do exercises to practice things. But you cannot do it consciously. You just have to let go, talk, and let stuff come out. And when you surprise yourself so much that you are shocked at how good it was, that's when you'll know you're getting somewhere. And for most of you in this room right now, you're thinking, oh, one day that'd be so cool. Most of you in this room will experience that in here over the next week. Guaranteed. Not everyone, I understand. But most of you will experience that in here before you leave. Then, I hope you run with it. Microphone in the front here, please.
Something I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's normal, is when I'm playing the part of hypnotist, I'm almost feeling hypnotized myself when I'm talking to them. Is that normal?
Anyone else experiencing this? Hands up.
Okay.
You're all
not
abnormal.
alone. Awesome. Thank you.
There is a method to our madness. So, you've enjoyed this, yes? What I'd like you to do now is do the same thing again, and this time I want you to just focus in on 1, 2, maybe 3 themes only. I'm going to restrict you a little bit for something, right? Only this time, you're going to have 4 minutes apiece, so you'll have less to say and more time to say it in. I would like you to repeat these themes as often as you can physically get into the induction. And you know how you're going to keep track of that? Please observe. Which themes would you like from me? Give me one. Focus. All right, let's look at this one here. Focus. And I'll go with trust. There's a few people shouted out. That's good. And we'll put trust here. Yep, it's on the list. There we go. Trust, not lust. Whoever said that, you're a naughty boy or girl. Just close your... actually, you know what? Keep your eyes open for this one. Lock your eyes on this comfortable screen for a moment, would you? Just focus your attention and trust that something is occurring. Because when you focus your attention in just the right way, you begin to trust those things inside yourself that are really worth trusting. The more you trust that, the more your focus gets directed towards something that helps you become even better at what you wish to achieve. And you can't just focus on those things without trusting that your mind already knows what it's doing. The more you focus on the ideas inside your own mind right now, the more it builds trust. And you can feel that trust beginning to evolve a little bit, can you not? Focus on that sensation. Let that focus on that sense of growing trust grow. The more you trust, the more focused you become. And the more focused you become, the more you discover something inside worth trusting. Would anyone like me to stop talking right now? But consider this, folks. I'm repeating myself. I'm saying the same damn thing over and over and over again to the point where I might be getting sick of it. But you don't want me to stop? Why is that? Because in hypnosis, we make sense of the world in a different way than we normally do. Normally, we get bored by repetition. That's a conscious attentional thing. The unconscious mind is much more childlike in its experience. Have you ever seen a child play for 3 hours with the same goddamn cardboard box and want more? Have you? You still do, that's right. Have you ever experienced a child sit there for hours on end saying the same thing over and over and over? It's like, give it a rest already. But they're amusing themselves. The unconscious mind and young children have very similar ways of processing the world. Does that make sense to you guys? And repetition is far from something bad. It's something very positive. Where attention goes, energy flows. It makes more of something. Plus, it stimulates some part of the unconscious in a really positive way. What you're experiencing here is what I call the blackjack rule. Anyone here play blackjack? Pontoon, 21? Right? We know the gamblers. Yeah, we can help you with that. It's a simple card game, the idea of which is you want to get as close to getting 21 points, but no more. If you get more than 21 points, then you go bust. I don't care about you going over. It's just the idea of getting to 21, right? You want to, on average, repeat a suggestion 21 times because they'll love you for it. We got to 10 on each one. We got to about 20 in total. I know. I failed. I'm sorry. But the point is, you want me to keep going, right? When you hit a powerful stream of suggestion, something that clearly is hitting the mark, you want to keep going and going and going and going. And then what do? You keep going and going and going some more. And just at the point where you think you should stop, that's right. You keep going and going and going. And they will love you for it. Because that's exactly what they need to hear. Does it make sense? At one of these seminars, there's a lady who had somewhat of an issue. She had an abreaction, which obviously some very bad things happened in her life. And she basically went into a mild form of psychosis. Do you know what psychosis is? It's when you meet the man by the bus stop who makes your skin crawl and makes you want to cross the road and maybe leave the country as well because there's clearly something not quite right with that, that's tending towards psychosis. You can feel something odd happening. It happened in this case, right? And everything I was doing was failing miserably. All the conventional things to get them out of these sort of states and so on failed miserably. Anyone here was in Seattle at the time? You were in Seattle, right? Would that be fair to be say as an accurate description? We carried on because we're in the middle of a strange kind of demo, and we hit one theme, one simple idea. We like know what that was? It'll be of no value to you whatsoever because it'll be different for each person. For her, it was the idea of listening to your heart. She was a counselor, and that's what she would counsel people. As soon as she said that, I repeated it. As soon as I repeated, some tiny little shift, I can't even tell you what it was, occurred. Tiny. There was still the full-blown psychosis going on, crazy wailing and strange breathing, and it was intense. But some tiny shift occurred. So I repeated it, and I repeated it again and again and again. I would have been there for, what, a good 5-10 minutes, repeating one phrase. Because the one phrase that she needed, the one lifeline that was dragging her out of whatever hellhole she just dropped into. Does that make sense to you guys? In hypnosis, you don't need to communicate in the way that you communicate with your friends and neighbors on a daily basis. Sometimes it's appropriate to do exactly that, and sometimes it is not. What you need to be aware of, though, is that when you hit on something that works, use it and keep using it and keep using it and keep using it some more. Do you understand this idea of the blackjack rule? Yes? What I'm going to ask you to do now is find a partner. Again, spread yourselves out. Remember, we're in a big room, lots of people, lots of noise, so speak up a little bit so that as a hypnotist you can be heard. And when you finish the induction, quiet down a little bit so that conversation doesn't interfere with other people's trance. Is that okay with you guys? Then, as you're doing your trance, as you begin, just ask them what particular trance sims would be useful to you. Would it be more focused, more trust, like here? Calm and relaxed? Learning? Fun? Spontaneity? What? Choose two, no more than that. And then use your power words and any other power words that come to mind to just riff through them again and again and again and again. I'll come in a second. And you can keep track of them like this if you wish. Just tick them off as you go along. And do not stop until you've hit 21. When you have the option to end the trance, bring them back, and ask them, what was that like? Now, you might think this exercise is about you, the hypnotist, doing 21 cycles. But it's not. Off you go. I'll come back to you now afterwards, okay? Okay, folks, how was that?
Great.
As the hypnotic subject in this experiment, what was your experience of these crazy, mind-numbingly dull repetitions? Did I hear wonderful? Delicious? My brain's going in and out, like in and out of phase? Well, this is a Star Trek thing.
Yeah, like in and out of attention, kind of.
You're phasing in and out of attention, so you're drifting off someone, then you catch yourself, you come back on, and stuff happens in between, but you're not quite sure what it is, right? Beautiful. More of that's going to happen very soon.
A little bit more like an amnesia.
More amnesia. Anyone starting to lose track a little bit of what happened? You know stuff happened, but you're not entirely sure what it is, either because you phased in and out or because a whole chunk is missing. You know you were here at the beginning, you know you're here at the end because you're here right now, but God only knows what happened in between, right? Aliens could have come and abducted you, done scientific experiments and returned you. Could be 500 years later for all we know, right? So you're noticing that we're starting to get spontaneous hypnotic phenomena. Amnesia is a classic one, right? Good. Can we have a microphone back here? Microphone, anyone? This gentleman here. Right here. Thank you. It's on.
Everything has sense. Whatever he said.
Everything he said made absolute sense, right?
It was perfect.
Now, can you remember what he actually said?
Nope.
Do you have any idea what it is? Do you begin to see this weird paradox that's happening here, right? People are talking to us. Every single thing is like it's dripping with meaningfulness and sense, and it's coming straight from the orifice of some mighty deity. And yet, if you ask them to repeat it, I have no idea, but it was good. Is that the kind of reaction you're having? It's good. You see the power of the blackjack rule, yes? Now, there's something that happens with the blackjack rule, which is a general principle within suggestion. It's called the law of compounding effect. If I make a suggestion, let's choose another color here. Let's go with one of these. If I make a suggestion here, and then I make another suggestion here, the fact that they are responding to this suggestion here reinforces this one. My third suggestion will reinforce the two previous ones, even if they are different. Provided they've responded to this one, they will respond to these some more. My fourth will compound all the previous ones overall as a rule. So the more you suggest, the more they respond to your suggestions, the more they will respond overall. Does that make sense to you guys? So this is why repetition is a wonderful tool. This is why just talking to them about these themes and putting the attention back on them over and over again is a wonderful thing to do. And it's real simple, isn't it? Right? Isn't it simple? I'm going back to the real simple basics at this point. Any questions on what you've done up to this point? Let's have microphones if there are. There's a question in the back here, please. Just keep your hand up so we can see it. Just pass it back and then the folks will help them out. Is this useful to you guys so far? You guys starting to feel like real hypnotists? Did the person who just put you in trance, do you have any idea whether they've done hypnosis or not before today? Anyone? As far as you're concerned, unless you asked them, right? As far as you're concerned, they may have been doing it for years. It's very difficult to tell the difference now, right? With some people, you might still have a little sense of where they're at, which is fine. This is only day one, folks. Come on. Day one. And already most of you are indistinguishable from the professionals. Guess what that makes you? So your question in the back here was?
Well, I did pretty good with using the words 21 times, but the last time I tried to do something with somebody, my mind drawed such a complete blank, I had to say, I'm sorry, come back to the room. What should I do at that point if I literally can't think of a single thing to say?
That's the problem. Right there. Thinking, I mean. There's a time to think and there's a time to not. The best time to speak is when you're not thinking. So if you need to think in order to speak, well, then you're making life a little harder for yourself. Now, I appreciate that it sounds a little glib at this point because your experience was blank. I don't know where to come out with the mouth. You have one real simple thing that you can do as a kind of general save-all, if you like. Would you like to know what that is? Right? Remember these words, memorize them, write them down. They will save your life. Just continue to drift for a while and reflect on that. As I continue to speak about comfort and relaxation, right? Who's to say that you have to keep talking? You do not. For now, we're encouraging more talking. And the irony is just when you get to the flow of it, and I'll show you how to get into a flow so that doesn't happen to you again, by the way. Just when you hit the flow of it, I'm going to ask you to stop. So right now, your problem is not being able to talk. Then your problem will be talking too much. So soon you'll be asking the same question, only when do I know how to stop? Right? To get to the point where you always have something to say, we all require a little bit of drilling. Well, actually, all requires is the right state of mind. When you get that blank point, literally my mind is blank most of the time. Not when I'm living life, I have thoughts and other issues like everyone else does. But when I'm teaching, when I'm doing hypnosis, it's blank. I have no idea what I'm saying. But as it comes out, it's right, it sounds right, it's correct. Occasionally I'll have to go in a little bit, reflect on something. But as soon as I start speaking again, it has to shut off because I can't do both at once properly. But you can do some drills around this to refine it. Very simply, it's what you've been doing, which is you get a simple theme, relax, a simple trance word, because, and you just say the word because, and then just allow the word idea of relaxation to fit in whatever it does, in whatever way it does. Once you have some simple trancing like this, relaxation, comfort, focus, and so on, then you always have something to riff around. The only reason you may not have something to riff around right now, or riff around, is because you haven't done it yet. You haven't done it enough. Anyone here play a musical instrument? Right? The first time you just try and play the scale or a simple tune, it's kind of tricky finding all the bits of the keys or the strings or whatever you're playing, right? But after a while, you just kind of get into it and you find that rhythm, you find where those things are, and now it becomes easy to play those particular things, and other notes and other things become more tricky, right? So it's just a question of drilling. If you'd like to make sure that that doesn't happen to you again, if you stick around tonight, some of the assistants have volunteered to stick around and do some exercises. There's one in there just for you. Does that help you?
Yes, a lot.
Do you have a follow-up to that, or?
I liked the cop-out to think about that and drift off for a while.
Hey, I've used it a lot. You may even catch me using it here. But the thing is, you'll never know if I actually mean it or if I'm just buying time. How could you? Because I don't. Do you want to pass that forward? There's a question or a hand up here somewhere. So this gentleman and this lady up here. There you go.
Question, with the law of compounding effects, should that affect, or is it good to consider the sequence of suggestions in light of that law, meaning you put the the most important, the most powerful suggestions first?
Something worth thinking about in 6 days' time, when you have more experience, personal experience, to reflect upon. And I don't mean that as a trite answer. I mean that because I can virtually guarantee that around about day 4 or 5, the question you're asking, whilst I understand where it's coming from, will become virtually meaningless to you, irrelevant. And have you ever heard this phrase? I think Einstein came up with it, which is to say that the state of mind that has caused a problem. Sorry, I'll paraphrase it really poorly. Exactly. The only way to solve a problem is when you're not in the state of mind that created it. Right? By the end of the week, you'll be in a point where the question you're asking will be of no significance to you, which is why I'll be happy to answer it for you then, because then it's just fun. But right now, it's better to get to that place than to this one. Is that okay with you? Yes. And if it's still a burning question, then I will happily answer it. Bring it forward.
So is part of what you're talking about when you're talking about not knowing what you're going to say, operating from a place of being willing to not know and just being completely present to the conversation and being present to what shows up?
Let me put it this way to you. Yes. Let me put it another way to you. Anyone here have a friend? At least one friend? Someone they feel close to? No? Yes. Wow. Does anyone here plan their conversations with their friends? Do you sit down and script it out and say, here's your script, here's my script, I will say this, you'll say this. Don't you go too fast. Sure, we sometimes find important things we need to say to people, but does it ever turn out the way we intend to say it? Usually when we try to say the way we practice in our minds, it gets pretty awful, doesn't it? And when we're willing to let go of that version and just, I guess, speak from the heart or just go with the moment, it comes out much better, doesn't it? Where is your mind at when you're talking with your friends? Do you feel afraid before your friend comes in of, what if I have nothing to say to them? What if I'm not interesting enough? Those are the thoughts we have about strangers, not friends. And the exact reason that the point that you have those particular thoughts is the reason why, with a stranger, you do have nothing to say. And the fact that you're not thinking about it with your friends is the reason why you don't ever have nothing to say. So the only reason you could possibly blank out during this exercise is because you're thinking about what you should be saying instead of just saying it. The act of thinking is interfering with the act of doing something. Does that make sense to you guys? So in a word, yes, you're 100% correct. To the extent you're sacrificing what's happening now for what should be happening, well, good luck to you. It's an experience, a valid one. Everyone has it from time to time. The only question to ask yourself is, do you want more of those or less? If you want less, then stop thinking at those times. And please do not think that I'm rubbishing the idea of thinking. Thoughts are wonderful things, they're great tools, but they are tools. And tools, anyone here like a handyman, does little stuff around the house, fix cars, tires, whatever it is, right? Do you carry your tools everywhere you go? Do you take them to the toilet when you go out clubbing at night? Yeah, hammer, whoo! Do you try and sneak a power drill into the airport, through the security check? No, yeah, once and once only, now you're banned from flying. No, because we recognize that those tools serve a function, a purpose. And when that purpose is not present, those tools have no value, right? It doesn't invalidate the tool, it just has a time and a place. And thinking is a tool that is, in my opinion, somewhat abused. I abuse it, you probably abuse it. And I suspect your clients abuse it, and that's why they're your clients. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? So yeah, it's great to be able to get to that point where you're not thinking, but you're in this other place. It's not, people think when I say don't think, that they go into like a zombie like, huh? Yeah, I'm not thinking, but no hypnosis is coming. That's not the kind of not thinking I'm talking about, right? I want you to be more thoughtless, but in a mindful way. Everyone good so far? Let's have a couple more here and then we're done. Just these two gentlemen, and then we'll move on.
Excuse me. It's just an observation, but I'm not a hypnotherapist, or I was not until today.
I like that. I agree with you.
But in the past, I've listened to some of the master classes and tried, and I think now I realize that's the problem. I was trying something and would either become nervous or the voice would crack, trying to think about what to do. And today, going through the exercises, I noticed that not thinking allowed wonderful things to come out from several teachers that I've been listening to, mainly your voice. And I found your words coming out, but they were no longer, there was not a script. It was, like you said, tools that were being used properly. And I really felt a sense of ease today that had not experienced in the past. And I want to thank you.
Well, I want to thank you because that is exactly how it works. At pretty much every one of these seminars, I have someone come up at some point saying, I've been listening to these tapes for years and nothing was happening. And today it was like mind-blowing. As soon as I started doing the exercise, I don't know where it came from. All this extra stuff I wasn't expecting started coming out. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely.
What's happening there? Any ideas? The unconscious mind. It's all in there, folks. It's all in there at some point. But you're not allowing it to come out. It's all in there. And the only thing you have to do is put yourself in a position to allow your unconscious mind to do the rest. That means you have to begin. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's really easy for you. And to the extent you want to make it hard for yourself, by all means do it. Seriously, think all you want. Try as much as you want to. And then when you finally give up on that way, you'll find a much easier way of doing it, actually much better. Plus, of course, there's my promise that by the next few days, your ability to think will be deeply in trouble. Your ability to grasp onto things in the normal sort of way will be radically altered. And that's to allow you a different way of experiencing yourself as a person and as a hypnotherapist. And that's when things start coming out. I did the same thing. I listened to my mentors, and I would listen for hours and hours and hours. And the best stuff that I got from it is when I wasn't thinking. It just slipped out of me during a session. I go, where the hell did that come from? And all the stuff I was taking furious notes about, gone. Precisely because of that. All you have to do is show up, folks. And provided you leave your door inside your mind open, it will come out. How can it not? So thank you. I really appreciate that. That's about day 4. On day 1, you guys are well ahead of the game. Do you want to bring it forward? Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, just click it up.
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on the exercise of repetition, 21 blackjack and so on. And I'm just thinking of parent talking to a child, repeating, or a spouse nagging a husband, repeating, and it becomes reality.
Hypnosis is everywhere. Just not the one that people would intend necessarily, right? When I say, you know the classic motivational speeches that some people slip into. You'll never amount to anything unless you do this, and you'll never amount to that. What's the idea that's being left? You'll never amount to anything. You'll get into trouble. Life is you're no good, and so on. We understand why they're doing it. In other words, they're trying to do something good, possibly for the child. Not in all cases, I agree. But it's not serving them. And do you know something really crazy? Do you know why they're saying these things? Do you know where those words come from? Their parents. They're doing exactly what you just talked about doing. They don't intend it to happen. All they know is they're talking to their child. And it's, parents in the room, anyone? How many of you have had this experience? You're talking to your child. You're meaning so well. You've sworn to yourself you'll never say that one phrase that your parents used and just wind you up. And suddenly, there it is. Where did it come from? Because you have the opportunity, you had a context, and you had the program, you had the idea present. And in the absence of anything else, the idea will present itself. That's why you stop thinking. Because it's the absence. And in here, we are creating all the reference experiences that will come slipping out in the absence of anything else. Of course, you can always do this, and nothing comes out, because then everything's closed off. But that's not as useful. Does that make sense? So great observation, thank you. Those of you who are parents in the room, now you can put something else instead of the parents, grandparents, great-great-grandparents' voice that comes slipping out from times. Because something as simple as this, you intend something for a child. Let's say you want them to do their homework. And instead of saying, well, unless you do your homework, right? You have your simple themes: homework, feeling good, achievement. Those are your themes now. That's what you can riff around. And that's what will come out. Because now there's something else when there's an absence. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? Thank you. That's a great point. All right, very quickly, and then we'll kind of move on. You just pass it down. Oh, they've got one over here. I'll take this one here. He's already got one. Go ahead.
But shouldn't you first subconscialize it through conscious mind? Like first you have to learn all those steps. Like you said before, only correct practice will lead you to results. So it's like tying shoelaces. First you learn many, many times till you subconscialize it and you do it effortlessly. Is that still true?
Is that still true? Of course it's true. It's worked in your life, right? But here's the difference. It's my responsibility to present the correct practice to you. It's your responsibility to stop thinking and let it happen. At the end of this whole process, you will know what the correct practice is. Would you like me to demonstrate it to you? Would you like me to prove it to you?
Sure.
Would that be useful to you?
Yes.
Will that be useful to everyone? What is the first thing you do in an induction? What's the first step? Context. Oh, come on, a little bit louder, folks. What is it? Context. What's the second thing you do? Then what do 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 you do? Reinduction. What else do you do? Then what do you do? And what is the end? Where does that come from? It's already there. So rest assured, you have nothing to do here but enjoy the ride. And the more you want to do, the more I encourage you not to. Because the ride will take you somewhere way better than that. Does that help? Useful?
Thank you.
Thank you. So what I want to do now is, we can do two quick exercises. The first one will be real quick in order for you to be able to use it in the second one, which you will love. Is that okay with you guys? So the faster you do the first exercise, the more time we'll have for the second, and this one will blow your socks off. Is that cool with you guys? The first one is real easy. You want to be a hypnotherapist in one shape or another, where you're doing it formally, or you're just working with your friends and family, or you just want to encourage your kids, or want to be a better boss, whatever it is, you're learning the skills of hypnotherapists to help people with their own personal growth. Is that correct? I mean, that's really why we're here. So how can we get to the point where we'll always know what to say, always have something to say, and you never run out of words, but it will always be appropriate what you're saying for the person? How can we get to that point? Any ideas? The answer is real simple. You don't do it, they'll do it for you. Let me ask you this. Anyone ever here have a problem? About anything? Wow, you are an enlightened crowd. Unless I missed a few hands. Anyone ever here have a problem? All right. So, let's take someone who's got the following problem. They want to be really great at hypnosis, but they're a little bit afraid of doing it outside with real people. They're kind of cool doing it with their friends, or new friends, but outside with real people is like, I know nobody here is feeling that. I understand that. And it's just so far removed from reality that it's kind of real hypothetical. But can you go with me on this one a little bit? So for this individual, if you were to ask them what the problem is, they'd give you two different types of information. One is how they are feeling about the whole thing, And the other is how they'll be behaving as a result of that, what things will be happening. So there is feeling and happening. Some of those happenings can be their behaviors, things that they do or do not do. And some of those happenings will be responses, what the world does as a result of what they're doing or not doing. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? If I'm shy and nervous around people, what will I be feeling? Nervous, anxiety. Might be thinking negative things. Oh, he doesn't like me. What if I run out of stuff to say? What's going to be happening? My body language changes, doesn't it? My tonality changes, doesn't it? I may start to talk differently. What else is going to be happening? People will feel awkward around me, so they'll avoid being with me because I made them feel awkward. Right? Does this kind of make sense to you guys? So, if we had this imaginary budding hypnotist with real potential, but who's just terrified of going out there and doing it with real people, what kind of things do you think this person might be feeling? Scared, right? And we have anxiety, self-conscious. Ooh, like that one. That's a good one. Ooh, almost wrote it down. Doubt, failure. Right, we've got a pretty hefty list here, right? Let's not get too crazy about it, but we get the idea, right? So this is representative of the kind of things that might be happening, right? Now, what would be happening as a result of this? In other words, what would they be behaving as? And what would the world give them back in return? So they'll be behaving insecurely, right? And how might the world react if an insecure hypnotist says, "Can I hypnotize you?" What are you going? You're going to be rejected, avoided, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What else would the hypnotist experience? Let's say that he managed to convince someone who's just maybe doing him a favor to do that induction. What's likely to happen in the induction? Not very much. They'll be feeling real bad for them, but they're not really exactly following along, are they? Right? So do you understand this distinction between the feelings, or the internal activities, the thinking, the feeling, the internal activity, and the external activities, their behaviors, and the responses the world gives them? Yes? That's easy to understand, right? And that's just taking at the complete picture. Now, what if we use a nice bright color for this? If someone's not feeling scared, what are they feeling? Confident, I agree. Let's go with this. Well, let's abbreviate that. If someone is not feeling anxious, what are they feeling? Calm. Beautiful. If someone is not feeling self-conscious, what are they feeling? Capable, self-aware, natural. Each person will have a slightly different variation of it, but you realize that just by asking them, it'll be pretty straightforward, right? Have I come up with any stuff on this list so far? No, I've been asking you guys. You're doing all the work. You want one big unconscious mind for me. Why should I do all the work, right? I only get paid for this. If someone has doubt or is afraid of failure, if someone doesn't have those doubts and is not afraid of failure, what do they have? There's confidence, which means they're succeeding. They're expecting success, right? Belief, I like that. You know what? I'm going to put this one right here. Oh no! There we go. So you get the idea where we're going with this, right? If someone is behaving insecurely, you can see that in the body language, right? When someone is not behaving insecurely, how are they behaving? They're in insecurity, so they're open, secure, trusting, right? Which of those should I put in here? Do you see how I have more content now than I can even handle? I'll just go with one of them, right? Let's go with open. That was the first one that came out. Why not? If someone is not being rejected, what are they experiencing? If someone is not being avoided, what are they experiencing? Oh. Move. If someone's not failing, what are they experiencing? Success. Believe it or not, without any effort on my part, I have now all the raw materials I need for creating a script. To have lots of things to say that you want to hear and need to hear at the unconscious level without any other filtering process going on, which when you have heard it sufficiently will make a significant difference in your life. Isn't that what a script really does? Only this script is one that I can carry on forever with. And I do not need to memorize. I need to read. Here's why I hate scripts. Who right now is being put in trance? You or the book? How live in the moment can I be when I'm doing this? If you don't script a conversation and memorize it so you can talk to the other person word for word in that way, how can you script a hypnotic interaction? You can take elements of that. I have no problem with scripts as an idea. It's a great place for food for thought and so on. But you do not memorize scripts. You do not read scripts. You understand them. You learn from them. You make the essence of it your own. And you discard it so that it can be your own. Does that kind of make sense? And the best scripts of all is the one that they give you. Because if you were to move from a point of anxiety about some kind of performance and hypnosis to a point of confidence, wouldn't you start feeling calmer inside? The anxiety started to drain away. And that calmness became stronger and stronger inside of you. Wouldn't you realize that the confidence that people are looking for is nothing other than expecting good things? You can expect good things, can you not? It's as simple as thinking about succeeding. When you think about succeeding with hypnosis, right now or in the future, how much more calm do you feel? How much more confident? And that confidence can continue to grow until there is nothing left other than an absolute expectation of success. And when you believe yourself in that way, isn't it reasonable to expect that you'll be open and that people will accept you for the way you are? When you're open that way and you believe in what you really have to offer, it's not a question even of how accepted you can become or how open you are, but you can enjoy all those things. You can be in a social circle, whether it's strangers or friends, and be included in it. Have real success because they realize something about you that you had forgotten in the past before you rediscover that confidence. And confidence is easy. It's as simple as expecting success. And expecting success is only asking you to think about the success that you do want. And you can do that, can you not? You can think about doing something hypnotic and succeeding with it. Feeling yourself opening up at each step of the interaction so that people want to be included by you, want to be accepted by you, are open to you now. How much calmer does that feel? How much more confident can you be when that little seed of a belief is allowed to grow inside? And what does it take to allow the seed of a belief to begin to grow? How do you nurture a thought or an idea if not by repeating it? If you were to think about succeeding with hypnosis in some event outside of this, and felt the calmness that it brings, that sense of openness, your expectation of success will not only soar, but wouldn't you feel good about yourself? And as you're feeling good, reflect once again on all the things that can go right for you. How much fun it is. And feel the calmness that it brings. Feel the calmness that it brings. It brings real calmness. Because real confidence comes from deep inside, and it is calm. Even when on the outside a lot seems to be occurring. A calm belief in yourself, in your abilities, where you can open up and accept the fact that you've already succeeded in here today. And what is the expectation of success if not looking back on previous successes and knowing that if it happened once, it can and will happen again? Open yourself up to success now. Really open yourself. Feel the calmness that it brings and the confidence. Look back on your successes of today only enough to look forward and know that someday, very soon, maybe even today, you can have the same success out there. Because all you have to do is show up. Just show up. And be open enough to let stuff start coming out. You've rehearsed enough of this stuff today already to know it. But you can only know it when you're not thinking about it. So you may as well think about the success instead. Your attention has to go somewhere, doesn't it? So open yourself up to that possibility and enjoy it. The calmness that it brings. The deep inner confidence. Expect good things, folks. Because if you expect something long enough, not only will you come to believe it, but you will begin to experience it in real life. Your unconscious mind is like a genie in that sense. Whatever you come to believe, it will create for you. There are thousands of hypnotists, millions in our history, who have succeeded beyond their wildest dreams with hypnosis, done great things. How did they know how to get there? Or did they just show up with an open, accepting attitude and allowed other people to be included by them? and allow their calm, confident manner to let the other person know at the unconscious level where it really counts that you are safe. This is something safe for you to experience. And only good things will come as a result of this. And who doesn't want to experience good things? How can you fail but succeed when all you're offering is good things to people who want them? Can you be open to that? Just out of curiosity, who's feeling a little bit calm right now? Does that sound like a script that you might have bought in a book for $20? Does it sound a little more real or genuine? Like something someone who really cares about you might tell you? And more importantly, as you listen to all those things, did you want to hear them? And did you feel things happening whilst you were hearing them? That is the essence of hypnotherapy there. Is it the best work you can possibly do? Maybe, maybe not. There are times when this is the only work you need to do. There are times when you need other work. That's just fine. But you see how easy it is to get at the suggestions you would need, right? Did I have to know anything in advance? Did I have to know about, performance anxiety with hypnosis? Jesus, what do you do with that one? No. And the same is true of weight loss, smoking, of pretty much anything. The client sitting in the chair right in front of you will have all the answers you need. So you may as well ask them for them. And even if they are convinced themselves that they don't have the answer, that's why they paid you the big bucks to do it for them. The very fact that they have the problem means they must know the solution. Because it's just not that. This is what they're focusing on. And whatever is not this is that. And that's what they came to you for. And they already know it, or else they couldn't have that problem. So why rack your brains trying to come up with a solution for something that you don't need to? When all you can do is just ask and let them do the work for a change. Does that make sense? So, who feels confident about doing something like this? I mean, really confident. I realize some of you are more confident than others. That's why all the hands are waiting. It's like, no, confidence is not good enough. I want mega confident. Yeah. Who feels good about doing something like this? Seriously. Is it easy? Would you like to have a little more, or do you want to just do it and then come back and we'll have one extra thing? Just do it? All right, most of you want to just do it, so we'll just do it. I want you to spend literally 1 minute, less than a minute, talking about whatever problem the other person wants to talk about, right? So I'm not expecting a full-blown analysis like we had here, even that was a partial analysis. Really, I just want, can you find two key things? Can you find a feeling that's bugging them and a behavior or a result of that feeling in the real world that they don't want? Does that make sense? In this case, it might be anxiety and being rejected. It's done. Then ask the person, when you don't have this, what do you have? And most of them will not have a clue. They'll tell you, well, if I'm not anxious, well, I'm not scared then. They will repeat a negative. And then you can smile wise and go, that's right. That's why you are. So what are you when you're not? Huh? I mean, scared, that is. Oh, I'm confident. Or I'm calm. Does that make sense? As soon as you have one negative feeling, one negative expectation in terms of results, then ask them what the opposite is. What is one positive feeling that isn't the negative? What is one positive expectation that isn't the negative? And when you have those things, which is easy to get in a minute, right? Then, whether you want to do a formal induction or not, I don't care, but just riff around those in exactly the same way as you did with this. That's easy to do, isn't it? If you want to do more, feel free to do so. And if what you're doing feels like too much, then do less. Off you go. How do you guys feel? Wasn't that something? Wasn't that pretty spectacular? Who thought at the beginning of today that at the end of today, we haven't even quite finished yet, we'll have one little more thing to do which you will love, so we may as well do it. But would have thought that even at this point of the day, you'd be doing so much. Anyone? Let's say, give yourself a round of applause. Because you really have deserved it. As a client, as the subject, didn't you just love hearing what they were saying? Yes? On occasion, and we'll come to it in a second, maybe, you may have someone, they're hearing it, but they can't accept it. It's like they're saying something like, I would love that to be true, but, no. Anyone have that experience? I know we had one or two here. Would you like to know what to do with that? Keep coming back for a few days, then you'll know. Can we have a microphone up front, please? Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, rest assured, everything is building up progressively. You don't need to have any idea where it's going, provided you do the exercise. Whatever experience you're getting back will be perfect. Because either you have the experience that some of you have had, where you want to hear it, but you can't accept it, and what's going on there? That's perfect. Because that is where we get to roll our sleeves up and say, oh, you're going to be so impressed when I'm done with you. Right? Or they're just loving it and hearing it, and they're so impressed anyways, which is fine as far as we're concerned. So once again, remind me to remind you. At the start of the day, we said, when you do an exercise, you may think something specific is expected of you. You might think that what was expected of you is to have that client sitting there swooning, going like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. Keep talking, please, don't stop. Do you have a cigarette? But it's not. It really is not. If you get that result, great, enjoy it. And if you get something else, notice it. Because you're about to learn something even more important. Only your intellect will not know what that is for a few days' time yet. And as long as you're okay with that, you're going to do great. Does that make sense to you guys? So, before we finish up for today, I'd like to do one last thing. The title of this course is Conversational Hypnotherapy, isn't it? And we can be kind of talking to people, which is great, but it's not very conversational. I mean, we've been doing like the whole sleep thing. You don't go walk up to your friend, hey, Jack, how's it going? Sleep. Let me talk to you a little bit about stuff, right? You don't even sit in a bar with your friend Jack or Jill or went up the hill, whatever, and say, just close your eyes, Jack. I know you've got a problem. Let me talk to you about it now, right? That's not how normal conversations work, is it? So we'd like to know, or we'd like to find a real simple way of converting what you've done today into a conversational piece. Would that be of use to you? I'd like a volunteer just for a very quick demonstration of something. Come on up. Give him a round of applause as he sits up here. Just have a sit there. Do you call it, is it Jacob? Jacob?
Yeah,
Jakub?
Mm-hmm. Or Jacob,
okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'll go with Jakub, that's good. So, you're from the Czech Republic, sorry. There's a few people from Holland who are here as well, and so on. Now, you've come here for a specific reason, right?
Yes.
What is it you came here for?
I came here to get immersed in it and become a good hypnotherapist eventually.
You want to become a good hypnotherapist?
Yes.
And there's that word eventually, that's interesting. That's right. What was that?
It was a smile. You caught me.
You caught you, right?
Yeah.
So has it eventually started to evaporate into more of a, well, how about now?
Yeah, it's more a little bit anxious now.
A little bit anxious, right?
Yes.
You're a little bit anxious now, right? So if you weren't feeling anxious, what would you have?
Centered, maybe.
Centered.
Yes.
So would help you become a great hypnotherapist now, or at least in the next few days, was to be able to feel centered
Right.
instead of anxious. Is that correct?
Right.
So when you're feeling centered, then the anxiety drains away, does it not?
It does.
And something else happens, doesn't it?
It does.
What's that?
I'm getting calmer and more relaxed.
You are getting calmer, aren't you? More relaxed. Calmer and more relaxed. Now, isn't it interesting how the calmer you get and the more relaxed you get, it's kind of like Did you start feeling more centered? Now I realize you're not entirely sure how this is all happening yet. I understand that. It's only natural because your brain, your mind has so much more capacity than you get to realize yet. But you do know one thing, that you're now more calm, are you not?
Yes.
And you're more relaxed.
And I have a bit tension in my face.
You have some tension in your face. There you go. What's that about, I wonder?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure, are you? Yeah, there's that tension in the face, and yet your body seems to be getting quite calm. You feeling more centered, despite the tension? More and more now. More and more. That's it. It's a wonderful thing to feel calm, Jacob. It's a wonderful thing to find your center. And if along the way you find some tension, that's good too. Because you'll only have that tension long enough to be even more centered. And realize to become a great hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, is not something that will happen eventually. It's already happening now. And you can feel something happening, can you not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something's happening. A calmness and a centeredness. What else is happening?
I'm realizing that the tension, that I need to let it go.
So you're realizing that you need to let go of the tension?
Yes, that when the tension goes away, that actually means that I'm getting centered.
Right.
Because that just the moment when I let go, that's the moment when I get centered, and I need not to need to let go.
Right. So how good is it to have that tension long enough to remind you to get centered? And you can maintain it as long as you need to, because the thing is, you're not the one that's going to let it go, are you?
Yeah.
Is it happening already?
It is.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Tension, letting go.
Yeah, tension is my friend because it helps me remember that it can get let gone.
It can be let go. Just sit there and just realize that for a while. Feels good, doesn't it?
It does.
How centered do you feel now?
It's better.
You are getting more centered, aren't you?
Yes.
Now, I understand the journey is not complete yet. I know that. And you know that, right? But let's face it, we still have 6 days left. 5 days.
That's right.
So if you did so much in such a short time, I wonder that eventually has a more of a definite date.
Sorry, what was the question?
That's day 3. So what's happening right now?
I didn't pay attention a little bit.
I know. So how are you feeling right now? Do
Yeah, better.
you believe him? Yes. Was this relatively conversational?
Yes.
Right? So, and again, are we done yet? Of course not. Right? We started the process. In 5 minutes you can be done, in 10 minutes you might be done, who knows? The point is, can you see pretty much everything you did up to this point being utilized here in a more kind of conversational framework, yes? Did you hear the power words? Put your hand up if you've heard a power word. Did you hear, that's right, you did. You must have known something. Did you hear some trance themes, the themes now not being so much about hypnosis itself, but about the resolution he's looking for? Very good, by the way, keep that up. Yes? Exactly like we did here, wasn't it? They just end up having little mini conversations in between that, right? Let me ask you, did you enjoy hearing things like, when you're feeling centered, not calmness? Am I reminding you that you can be calm?
Yeah, well, actually, at the beginning, it didn't go too much with my experience because I had this in my face, but during time, it went better and better.
Isn't that kind of the whole purpose of hypnotherapy? the problem doesn't go away all at once. It just erodes slowly, right? Yeah. So we'll come to you in a second for me. So here's what we'll do in terms of the exercise. It's real simple. The first thing I want you to do is I need to do this whole... What's the very first thing you do in an induction? Context. Come on, guys. What's the first thing? Context. And the next thing? Induction. And the next thing? Debrief. How can I do all those three things in one go without actually doing anything with him? Would you like to have a quick solution? Yes. Okay. Let me show you the wrong version for a moment. So, Jacob, what is it you want to be doing here?
Right now?
Yeah, no, it's like in the seminar.
Okay. I'd like to...
You're going.
Yeah, I'd like to have some good food, maybe.
What's happened to his attention, right? But isn't this how we have a lot of conversations like, yeah. You're busy thinking, oh, wait till he's finished and I'll say this story, it's a really cool story, right? Compared to, sorry, I apologize, I was just off there for a second. So you're here, right?
Yes.
You may as well hold this up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you're here for a purpose, right?
Yes.
What is that purpose?
Yeah, one of the purposes is to get a good therapist, maybe hypnotherapist.
To become a good therapist, maybe hypnotherapist, right? So when you think about that, how do you feel? I mean, becoming a good therapist or hypnotherapist.
Yeah, I feel more centered.
Of course he does. Did you see him starting to go into trance there? Differently from the first time, right? What was I doing differently to allow that to occur? Right. It's called the hypnotic age. You know, you have these old classic black and white movies with hypnotists like... right? And then they zero in on the eyes, right? There's a lot of value to that. It's not that there's some mystical force that emanates from the eyes, some hypnotic rays, as people like to draw in the cartoons. But first of all, the eyes are the only part of the brain that's actually exposed to the world, right? If you see a brain developing in a fetus, you have these two little antennae that come out. Those are the optic nerves, at the end of which the retina will start forming. So it's actually a part of the brain. And as mammals, or specifically as humans, we're kind of a part of the ape kingdom, I guess, we pay specific attention to where people's eyes go. There's some interesting experiments were done where you had this like box, and I'll show you very quickly. Here we go. So you had like a little box, and you'd have two simple circles like this, and then they draw black dots on that. And they just put this box in the middle of a troop of monkeys. And what do the monkeys do? They look at the box. We respond to eyes because eyes tell us a lot about the interaction, what we can expect from people around us. So you're going to use your eyes hypnotically in that sense, right? So you're going to arrest their attention. Notice, by the way, how Jakob does not keep looking at me. He will look away. But notice also, each time he looks away, whatever qualities you notice in your partners that are trance-like occurring throughout the day, will encourage you to play with this for a while? Yeah. Very good. And already they just started. Did you notice, everyone? Did you feel it? And there it is again. You noticed that one, didn't you?
Yes. When you mentioned it.
Of course. We were just training, so we're putting it out a little bit. Now, I'm not even doing that much in terms of hypnosis. Do you hear any power words? Not really.
I'm doing it again, right?
You're doing it again. Now, admittedly, right now I'm being a little weird because I'm just looking, right?
Yeah, and it just happens.
It's not a socially appropriate thing to do, but I just wanted to demonstrate to you. You could clearly see the shift beginning to occur. Is that correct, everyone? Right? So just by maintaining constant eye contact, I can blink. I don't have to be like, I am Hypno Man. I do not blink. Right? Just maintaining constant eye contact is enough. It tells his mind to get to that more settled place. Now, what will typically happen is the anxiety will spike a little bit. It's the little kind of attention because he's uncomfortable being stared at constantly, right? So that's exactly what happens. His eyes will move away for a second to break that tension. But as it does, it also starts accessing, there you go, and once again, a little bit more of trance. Now, if he's accessing trance, if I've got already my induction, a little bit of deepener going on at the same time, this is my hypnotic context, right? And I do something along the lines of this. Is that a good hypnosis or bad hypnosis? Right? Because we're triggering the wrong suggestion. So you don't want to be sitting here. You are under my power now.
It's gone no good.
Right? It's a little freaky, and if nothing else, you may at some point get a punch on the nose. And probably quite deservedly so, right? So the secret to this whole eye contact thing is to do it in a friendly way, right? Now, there is friendly and there's over-friendly. There's...
It's not kind of nice.
If you're married, enjoy. If you're not, ask permission. So we can go too far down the shall we say, violence communication, which is the stern, I'm the hypno-man, I will make you do what I say, and that can frighten people. A little bit of fear is okay. A little discomfort is fine. But if you go past a certain threshold, each one will have a different one, then basically the defenses go up. Now you have an exclusory trance. His trance will basically want to protect him from me. Make sense? The same is true of the reverse. If I get too personal, especially if I start putting in sort of sexual connotations and so on, which are like, beautiful eyes, you know. Right? He will also be uncomfortable because I'm suggesting something very different at this point. What is it I'm trying to suggest to a client or a person that I want to help through a problem? Is it that I want to sleep with them? No. Is it I want to fight them? No. What is it I'm trying to suggest to them? That I'm here to help them. Or more importantly, try this one on for size, that something fantastic is about to happen. Isn't that an amazing thing? So if I'm looking here, and I just wait, even though the context is a bit weird, socially speaking, you're already feeling that, aren't you? You notice how much more he's willing to engage with that one? Even though every now and again he does the look away, every now and again the blink reflex closes off, that's part of the defense mechanism, right? And if I just have a conversation at the same time, his intellect gets distracted. There, it happened right there. His intellect gets distracted from what's actually happening because he's thinking about what I'm saying. Meanwhile, of course, he can enjoy and experience something centering. There you go. Something centering. And now, notice how he's increasingly looking further away. But that looking away is less of a detachment. It's more like an internal search. And now this looks much more like a regular conversation. I can even make regular gestures. I can have a regular facial expression. And I can wait for things to happen. And I don't even need to suggest anything. I can. But you're doing a great job on your own, so why would I bother? Can you see what's happening? How does it feel? Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah, actually, it feels good. It feels good, and it brings me memories of my first trance induction, which I was into, and the process ended that I started laughing really hard and I couldn't stop it, and now my mouth is just getting to the state which was preceding the thing, and the tingling.
Allow me to just ask a question here. When someone is laughing uncontrollably, in other words, they cannot stop, what is that? Well, let me put it this way. Would it be fair to say that something is happening that is not conscious? Because if they wanted to stop, they could stop it. But if they can't stop it, it must be happening somewhere else. What is the last step of the ABS formula? So if he's laughing uncontrollably, do I care? Because I have it, don't I? Can we play with this a little bit? Is that okay? It's getting a little off script, but why not? We don't do scripts anyways. So you're saying that you're getting to the point where you're almost getting to the point where you're going to start laughing uncontrollably. Is that right? There we have it. I'm not making you do anything.
Oh, don't make me do it.
Too late now. The reason I say this is, as it happens, I want you to think about all the problems you had, all the fears you had about becoming a hypnotherapist. Really try and think about all the problems you had about being a great therapist. And notice, there you go. There it is. But really think about those problems. And would it be fair to say they don't seem so important anymore, do they? It's spreading. Quick, think about your problems too.
Yeah, that made me realize that one of my problems is that I'm actually often fighting myself, which I'm doing right now. So I'm deciding which way I will not fight myself right now.
I agree. Now, let me just pause here, because this is kind of, we're going a little bit off script, but we may as well because this is fun, right? More.
My hands are tingling. Stop it.
Of course. Hypnotic phenomena, would that be fair to say? Yes. Did he know the solution to his problem beforehand? The idea of, not taking it seriously. I can't quite remember what he said a moment ago. Fighting himself, right? Maybe, maybe not. The point is, at the point at which he started laughing at his problem, literally, he was resourceful enough for a new idea to emerge, something that will actually help him make the resolution. It is, isn't it? That's right. Think of a bigger problem than that. Come on. That's not a challenge. Within hypnotherapy for now, let's stick within a theme, right? Or is it more something that used to be a problem? I mean, let's face it. Before today, you had a few little anxieties. Little sort of, oh, fuck, this doesn't work out. What do I do?
Yeah.
And?
I can't remember them actually because one of my problems is that my memory is, that I keep telling myself my memory is really bad, so I keep forgetting things everywhere and forgetting answers to questions.
It's too tempting to fix that too, but...
Okay, let's leave that for...
We'll have to save something for later, right?
Promise me that.
Well, I don't have to promise anything. Do you know why? Because you have an unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And it's way ahead of me. Isn't it? Whoops. Does this look like hypnosis to anyone who, outside of the context of what you've been experiencing today, will they say this is hypnosis? It's a conversation, isn't it? I'm just messing, I'm just teasing my buddy a little bit, aren't I? Can you see the hypnotic elements in action, folks? And is it anything that you've been, anything other than what you've been doing today? To some degree or another? Admittedly, maybe a little more, I catch more moments, that's fine, that's experience. And we'll come more into this sort of thing later. But it's natural, isn't it? And where did it all begin?
Tried it.
There you go. And isn't it good?
It is.
To know you have an unconscious mind on your side like that, right? Where did the giggles go, by the way? He doesn't need them anymore. Think about becoming a hypnotherapist or just a good therapist. How does that feel? There's your answer. Did you all see that? Anyone miss it? Put your hand up if you missed it. If you're in the back, come to the front, please. Come right to the front. This is adult learning, after all, provided you don't touch the client and interfere in that sense. Well, I don't care. Just make sure there's a little space for the camera as well. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is this useful for you as well?
Sorry?
Is this useful for you too?
I hope so.
Good.
I think so.
Good. I believe you.
Yeah.
This tells me more than that. Everyone close enough to see? So, remind me, you wanted to become a good hypnotherapist or just a good therapist, is that correct? Whether you call it hypnosis or not.
Yeah.
So when you think about becoming a good hypnotherapist or your whole purpose there, what?
Should I think about it or give you the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. I can try both.
So, do you notice how his reaction is very different physically to before, right? There you go. Just think about hypnotherapy. Being a hypnotherapist is a good one. How do you feel?
Less tension and less tension and less compulsions to maybe laugh and just defend myself or to get in tension or something like that.
Sure. So when you have less of that, what do you have? Just check inside.
Yeah, I have more space for actually engaging in the conversation or to answer the questions, because when I was asked at the first time, I was really under pressure and I wasn't able to come up with anything, and now I'm...
Can I just pause you there? Did you just see him going through the whole problem again, describing it as a thing of his past? But now when you think about hypnosis or being a hypnotist, a good one, what happens now? There you go. Did you see the difference? Would you like me to accentuate for you guys? Would that help? Okay. Well, in the past when we were talking about it, I had this sort of tension and you know, my attention was on it and it wasn't... Did you notice that? So what happens when you think about it now? Well, his body's already telling me what's happening, isn't it? Right? How do you feel when you just think about just being a great hypnotist or a great therapist? Whether you call it hypnosis or not is irrelevant. There it is again. For those of you missing it, the chest is relaxing. The smile is a nice giveaway, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's not been smiling, that's kind of irrelevant. The breathing is important. Can you all see those shifts occurring? Not rocket science, is it? Now, the interesting part is, if you can do it so quickly here, in other words, resolving your own problems, guess what? It's even easier with other people.
That's good.
Doesn't it? So I guess you're ahead of the game. Right. Do you even have to do all that much? So, who wants to play with this a little bit? Don't worry, we'll simplify it so that you can build up to the step by step. Like, what the hell? I didn't see a thing. My eyes shut. Right. First of all, give Jakob a nice round of applause. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. So what you're going to do is, I want you just for the sake of simplicity, choose 2 decent trance themes. Maybe they'll tell you straight out. It could be calmness and relaxation. In this case, it was what? Being centered, and that developed into calm and relaxed and releasing and letting go of the tension in the jaw, right? But just ask for 1 or 2 of them up front. And all you're going to do is get your crazy Uncle Dave stare, crazy friendly Uncle Dave, and you're going to start talking. Generally about whatever they're wanting. And I don't care what you say. Honestly, I do not. You just start talking. With the intention in the back of your mind to at some point bring in your power words and whatever theme you are thinking about. And the only thing I'm going to ask you to do, the only, shall we say, absolute I'm going to request of you, and for some it'll be easier than for others, is that once you make eye contact, you do not look away. Your client, subject, whatever, they can do what they want. They'll look away, they'll blink, they'll close their eyes, open their eyes. It's irrelevant. But once you make that eye contact, friendly, of course, that's right. You do not look away. And you can feel something beginning to happen, can you not? It's as simple as that. Can you all do that? And then you start talking about whatever thing they asked you about. Actually, shall we make it real easy? Who wants to be a great hypnotist? Hands up in the room. Fantastic. Shall we just talk about being a great hypnotist? Just when you sit down, just say that for simplicity, just tell them, okay, it would help me a lot to be a great hypnotist if I had confidence and I felt great. Good. Or whatever. And then you'll talk about, so you want to be a great hypnotist? And I realize that having confidence and feeling great helps to be a great hypnotist, doesn't it? Now, of course, you don't have all the confidence you want yet. But if you felt great, wouldn't that change? And you just keep talking. And talking. And just noticing what comes out. Is that easy? Yeah? Please find a different partner. Preferably someone you have not worked with today yet. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Give yourselves a round of applause. Did a great job, folks. How did that feel doing that? Yeah? Who surprised themselves? Hands up. Who started off talking, having no idea what they're talking about, and thinking, I don't know where this is going, but I'm just going to start talking whatever. And then stuff started coming out, and you paid attention to yourself. I'm good. Wasn't that the thought that popped in at some point? Why? Because you showed up, and you stopped thinking enough to let something else come out. And that's all you have to do, folks. That is all you'll ever have to do. We'll be doing it better as the week goes by. If for no other reason, then let me put it this way. How many people here are starting to lose their grip on reality a little bit? Get a little woozy inside? Yeah? A little difficult to keep thinking? String two thoughts together sensibly? Good answer. Huh? It's going to get worse. A lot worse. And once you embrace it, you're going to love it. Or you can go the other way, which you're welcome to as well. It'll happen one way or the other. It's just your experience will depend on how much you embrace it, right? But the good news is, it means that you really are learning things at the right level. Because all learning, all behavior, and all change occur unconsciously first. Otherwise, how would you have access to it? How would you know what to think if it's not inside there already? So why bother trying to learn something consciously first? That's the cart. It belongs after the horse. And so does your thinking. Tonight might be a time to do that, if you wish. I don't feel strongly either way. At the end of this week, this whole training process is another great time to do that. In this room is not. And I think you're beginning to appreciate what I'm talking about now. Are you not? So all that remains for me to say is, you're going to have some interesting dreams tonight. Even if you wouldn't have had them otherwise, you will now. And some of you will have such amazingly interesting dreams that you will not even remember them when you wake up. It's going to happen. And some of those of you who have dreams but forget them when you wake up will try and convince yourself that you had no dreams at all. Only there'll be this little nagging doubt in the back of your mind. And that doubt may well sound like me, but it's actually a more important part of you. Because as that grows, you'll realize that no matter what you do, where you are, or what is happening, you have this wonderful thing called an unconscious mind constantly in support of you. And the best thing you can do tonight, as you dream and have those amazing experiences, whether you remember them or not, is to be a little thankful that your unconscious mind gets to process all of this. And that you have no idea what this was, because that's the hard way to do it. What you've done today is more than enough to be able to do this in the real world. You don't need to structure it, analyze it, break it down, break it up yet. The time for that will be once you can do it so naturally that you don't even have to think about it anymore. You know it's going to happen. Does anyone here doubt their ability to breathe? Does anyone get concerned about their heart continuing to beat when they're asleep, for example? at one point, your ability to do hypnosis like this will become just as sure as your certainty about your breathing. Then you can break it down until there is nothing left. And you can analyze it and think about it and scrutinize it, because every one of those thoughts you have at that point will make what you have now even greater. Just not yet. Can we agree on that? So with that happy thought, the last thing that's going to occur tonight is I'm going to ask you to find your instructors. If assistants, if you can just pick up your number signs so they can know which number to come to. So all the assistants have little numbers, things so you can find them more easily. So you have an option of one of two things you can do, and you can do both. The first thing is, I'd like you all to just maybe just go to your instructor and just give them a one-sentence summary of what you took out of today. What's the most important thing that you've learned, what you're going to take away with you? Does that make sense? It's a quickie. If you need to go somewhere, just throw it out there, say thank you very much, and then move on. For those of you who really want to master hypnosis, however, your assistants will move outside the room, so you're in a different environment. We'll just be outside the lobby in this area here, possibly. And if you need to move around a little bit more, that's fine too. And I'm going to take you through some of the exercises, some of the drills you did today, again, just for the fun of it. They'll help you set it up a little bit, have a little bit of fun. 20 minutes or so later, you get to go home, having taken greater responsibility for your learning than you did by even showing up here. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter to me, honestly, which one you do. I'm just giving you the consequences. Those who stay will get more, learn faster, and it's just the way the world works. And you're adults enough to decide what you want to do for yourself. Does that make sense to you guys? So, assistants, please hold your signs up so everyone can see the numbers. Please find your assistant and then move outside with your assistant so you can do your exercises.